Our last application of linear functions is in using proportions. So here is an example where we might use a proportion. So this is the famous drawing I'm sure that you've seen in your lifetime by Leonardo da Vinci. And this is for the perfect or ideal body of a man. We know that the ratio of the outspread arms to the height is 1-to-1, which means, and that's real, if you spread your arms out from tip to tip, that's the same distance as your height. So mine would be a whopping 6 feet, but that is in a ratio of 1-to-1. The maximum width of the shoulders is 1/4 of the height. I haven't checked that one on myself, but I'm just going to trust that Leonardo da Vinci was, pretty smart. And the length of a foot is 1/7 the height of a man, so that ratio would be 1/7 to 1, or a little bit easier, 1-to-7. So if your foot is 54 inches less than your height, and you conform to Da Vinci's ratios, what would your height be? So how are we going to do this? Well, we would make a ratio as a fraction. So we might say foot to height. I like to put that little key on the left side so I remember what I'm putting where. So I know that the ratio of a foot to the height is 1-to-7. That's the ratio. Or I could have put 1/7 over 1. And I know my foot is 54 inches less than my height. So I'm going to say my height is h. So my foot would be h minus 54, and my height would be h. So now I have a proportion that I can then solve. We all know that to solve a proportion, we just simply cross multiply. So 1 times h is h. 7 times h minus 54 is 7 times h minus 54. And then we'll just simplify the left side. That gives me 7h minus 378. I would subtract 7h from each side, which of course gives me a negative value, which normally I would be concerned about, but I have a negative value on each side, so I'm not concerned, because then when I divide I will end up with a positive value, and in this case that would be 63. So what does that tell me? Because this was in inches, it tells me that if that were the case, that my height would be 63 inches. Now, do I need to turn that into feet and inches? No, I don't. But if I did, I would divide that by 12, and the whole number would be the number of feet, and whatever's left over is the inches. Here's another question for you to try, so press pause. Try this question, and then press play to check your work. So here for the 104th Congress, there were 4 fewer Democrats than Republicans. This resulted in a ratio of 12 Democrats to 13 Republicans. So what that tells me is that I'm going to use 12 to 13 with Democrats to Republicans. So that's how it's going to help me to solve this. Now, we're asking how many senators were Republican and how many were Democrat if this were true. So let's say that R is the number of Republicans, and there were 4 fewer Democrats. So Democrats would be R minus 4, and Republicans would just be R. And of course, I would then cross multiply and get 13 times R minus 4. And that would leave me with obviously some negative values, which again, not too concerned about. Negative R is negative 52, which means R is 52. So what does that tell me? That there were 52 Republican and 4 fewer Democrats, which means 48 Democrats.